Hello everybody, this is Connor at BoatsDon'tSink here with another Vice Schwartz deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at another Chainsaw Man deck, the newest English release. It just came out about a week ago, a little over a week ago at this point. So this time we're going to be looking at a 6 choice 2 comeback deck. This is going to be a little different from what you normally see with the Akihimeno decks. Before we take a look at the list, just a reminder that these decks are meant more as starting points. They may not be optimized for any specific meta, so play around with them yourself, figure out if there's anything you want to change to better suit your playstyle or meta. I will say this deck is, while not exactly the same as, based off of an idea that was the deck that won, or not won, but got second place at the World Championships for the Japanese format. That is a format with a lot more restrictions on some of the decks that we see at the top tables in English, and with a restriction on Chainsaw Man itself that would have prevented it from playing the same Akihimeno deck as before. But it was a deck that proved it had some pretty good legs. We've changed some of the cards around here a little bit. We don't have all of the cards that were in that deck in English yet. But without any further ado, let's jump right in. Here is our deck list. You can see there are a lot of one-ofs. This deck has a lot more unique cards than some of the other lists I've shown. But they all pretty much serve some kind of purpose to the deck. They're not really just like anti-meta techs. They are cards I'd recommend playing, even from a starting point. Though, if you don't like having this many one-ofs, it's definitely something you could cut down on somewhere, just by cutting certain packages from the deck. And again, if you want to see the deck log page for this deck, you can check out the code in the bottom right. That is GJKV. We can get a little more of a breakdown. We have a pretty standard level split. We're a little high on level 2s, but that's because we have some events. And 18 zeros, pretty normal. 9 level 1s, 9 level 3s. Our color split is going to be the hardest thing here. 19 red is pretty fine. We don't need that till level 2. 22 yellow is our level 1 combo. The 8 green might be the biggest issue you run into, since there is a green 1/1 assist in this deck that you want to get down relatively early. You don't need it immediately, but that could be the biggest issue, and thankfully we do have some ways to get green into our clock for that. So 15 soul triggers, which seems a little low, but none of our climaxes have soul triggers, so it is 15 actual soul triggers for your choice climaxes to pick up, which should be fine. If you want to, you can try to go a little higher to like 16 or 17, but I think 15 should be good there. Looking at the first card we have Chainsaw Devil Pochita. This is from the trial deck. It's a global 500 to all your characters with pay 2. Rest this card, search your deck for up to 1 Devil Hunter or Devil character, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So this is not a card you'd typically see played, but because we have so many choice triggers, we have 6 choice, and we have our assist is going to turn one of our level 0s into a choice trigger as long as we have a choice climax in play. So one of the goals of this deck is to be triggering as many choices as possible, getting a lot of stock. This Pochita can turn that extra stock into just extra cards in hand if we need it. But he is primarily here as part of a package with the level 3 Devil Hunting Devils Chainsaw Man. The 2/1 Denji can use itself and the Pochita to summon the Chainsaw Man 3/2 from your waiting room at level 2. And that gives you sort of an extra early play, extra cantrip. It's just a small package in this deck that we're playing partially as just a way to find our events better, a way to pressure board in matchups where the Makima combo doesn't matter as much. But this whole package, if you wanted to change things, maybe trim out some of the one-ofs and fit more consistency, this is the package I'd recommend cutting first. These cards aren't super critical to the main strategy of the deck. They more just provide a backup strategy. Next, we have Leader of Special Division 4 Makima. This is the climax swap from deck. We looked at this card last time. On play, pay 1, search your deck for a climax, reveal it, exchange it with a climax in your hand, then shuffle. And beginning of climax phase, you can give a character 1k. We have a lot of power pump in this deck at various points, so getting over our opponent's boards should be pretty feasible. That is something you definitely have to keep in mind when playing right now against like the Kishibe 1-0s in the Akihimeno deck. and even decks like Spy Family with just really big level 1 lines. So the Power Pump will help out. but we're mainly playing this as a climax swap here. Next, we have 2 copies of Devil Hunter Himeno. Act, pay 1, put this standing card into your memory if you're level 2 or higher to search your deck for a level 2 or higher character. That's not going to be as important in this deck as it was in the other deck, but you can still use this to search out your early plays or just extra copies of finisher or counters even. So lots of stuff that you can grab with this, but it is primarily here for the second effect, which is just act, brainstorm, pay 1, rest it. Brainstorm 4 for each climax, you choose a character in waiting room, return it to hand. So that's just going to be our brainstorm for the deck, pretty much. That's why it's here. We're playing this over the yellow Pochita, because this is green, and we need green for our 1/1 assist, despite the fact that the Pochita's effect might be a little better otherwise. Slice of Everyday Life Aki Hayakawa. This is another climax swap. This is on play, you can discard a climax and sack one other character to your waiting room in order to choose a climax from waiting room, return it to hand. This one, generally, I would probably play the red trial deck one that lets you pay 1 instead of sacking a character. But, again, we do need a little more green. And sacking a character is not terrible in this deck. We do have, just a handful of utility cards that might be sitting around still. So, not awful. And it does let us use our stock on other things that are going to give us card advantage instead of using it on climax swapping. So this one's probably the biggest personal preference. You can use the red climax swap if you want. I just like that little extra green count. 3 copies of Devil Hunter Kobeni. On play from hand, you can discard 1, reveal the top card of your deck, choose a level X or lower in your waiting room, return it to your hand. X is the level of the card you reveal off top. So I like this card in the deck because we do have, as I've said, a lot of choice triggers. Those are only going to be able to add back our characters with soul triggers, which are mostly level 2 and higher, or at least not things that we just want a GM to attack with. So having Kobeni can give us a way to turn extra level 3s we have to grab into playables that we can put down to attack with. So helps us keep our hand from just clogging on all level 3s. 1 copy of Sudden Confession Makima. Just like last time, we're not playing the climax combo for the first effect, so we're just going to skip over that. But it does have a brainstorm effect to rest it and send one of your other characters from stage to waiting room to brainstorm 4. And for each climax, we get to look at the top 3 cards of deck, choose 1 card from among them, put it into hand, and put the rest into waiting room. So this is good deck speed. It's a stock costless brainstorm that does plus us, which is pretty great. It can also keep finding us our climaxes to use our level 1, 2, or 3 combos. And most importantly, really, it can help us find the 2/2 event that we're playing, since we don't really have ways to search that, but we do want it. It is a pretty good part of our top-end plan. So being able to search for it off of this is pretty good. Again, just a 1-of compared to the Himeno, though, because sacking a character every turn for this isn't super efficient. You're more going to only want to use this when you're really digging for a climax or the event, or you just have, extra characters sitting around that you're going to play over anyway. Or you really need to save stock. Next, you're playing 4 copies of Living Like in a Dream Denji. So this is a card we didn't play in the last build, but is our main sort of plussing 0 turn 1 play of choice here. 0015. If there's a marker underneath this, it gains 2k power, so it's a 3500. On play from hand, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is a first indirect kiss or a Devil Hunter or Devil character, put it face down underneath this as a marker. And at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase, you may move this card to an open position of your center stage with a character facing this card. So he's a chaser. He's a 3500 chaser. This is the same as the Guilt Thunder that you see in 7 Deadly Sins. Pretty good. It's hard to remove. If your opponent plays multiple characters, they have to all be bigger than Denji, or else you can just move in front of the smallest one. The first indirect kiss is the event that we play, so as long as you don't see a climax off the top, you will be able to get the marker on turn 1, or on any turn that you play him, which makes him fairly consistent. If you see a climax on top, well, at least you're getting a plus in some other form. We also, part of the reason we choose this as our plussing 0 and why we want 4 copies of it, the 1/1 Aki assist that we play has the ability to, if you have a choice climax in your climax area, all the copies of this Denji get choice trigger. So we do want to just start triggering these Denjis eventually after the first couple turns of using them as plussing zeros. We're also running 4 copies of First Taste Makima. This is the Ricky effect that we're probably going to be playing 4 of anyway, but does actually serve extra purpose in this deck, unlike the previous one. So this is on play from hand, pay 1, put a Devil Hunter or Devil character from Waiting Room at the bottom of your clock. Search your deck for a level 1 or lower character. This is obviously going to be used to like set up our level 1 combo. Just set up, maybe we need a climax swap, we need to plus into it. You can use this to search the assist if you have all your level 1 combos, but 99% of the time you're probably grabbing your level 1 combo with this, or a hand fix. So just easy plus there. Also, since it clocks from the Waiting Room to the bottom of clock, if you've already gone to level 1 and you're like clocking to 1-1 or whatever, this is a super easy way to get green, so you can set up the 1-1 assist. Or just set up any other colors that you have issues with. Our early play condition is also a like clock-based condition, so you don't really want to use this effect at level 2, but if you have to, you can use it to set up your condition there as well. Second effect is an alarm effect. If this card is the top card of your clock, beginning of your climax phase, you can give one of your Devil Hunter or Devil characters the ability to look at top 2 and put them back in any order when they attack. So this is was something that I mentioned in the other deck was not really something you're playing toward, but in this deck it can actually help out a lot. So we're playing a 3-2 early play here that gets -1 level if this exact Makima, the First Taste Makima, is in your clock. Which means A, we need 4 copies of the Makima anyway, but B, being able to clock it for the condition means that its alarm effect is going to be online, which lets our early play, which has to hit a top check, rearrange and guarantee that it's going to hit that top check, so a lot of synergy there. And also, worst case, even if we don't get the alarm effect, the Makima can clock another copy of herself into the clock for our early play condition. So lots of good synergies going on there, lots of powerful effects, and we'll look at more of what the early play does when we get there. Moving into our level 1s, we have 1 copy of Meowie. This is a cat. It meows. So 105k, 1 effect, act ability, pay 1, sack this, choose 1 Blood Fiend power in your Waiting Room, put it on the stage position that this card was on, and that character gets 2k and Twin Drive until end of turn. Blood Fiend power is our level 1 combo, so this is just basically a 5th copy of it that we can draw to get 1 out of Waiting Room. It's also nice if we draw the Meowie after we've already resolved a turn of our level 1 combo, since any copies that die and go to Waiting Room, we can just get back with Meowie. So if you need to go for 2 turns of level 1 combo, this is a good way to do it. Now looking at our level 1 combo itself, Blood Fiend power. This is a 1-0 4500. It cannot side attack. Gets plus 500 power for each of your other Devil Hunter or Devil or Animal characters, so it does scale off of Meowie if you have one still on board for some reason. On attack, if the choice Climax Fiend's Everyday Life is in your Climax area, and you have 2 or more other characters, look at top 4 from your deck, choose one from among them, 1 character from among them, reveal it, put it in hand, put the rest into your Waiting Room, and if the character facing this card is level 2, this gets plus 6,000 power until end of turn. So it's a level 2 killer. It means it's 65-75 with the climax, which means it's going to be swinging for 13.5 if you are against a level 2, which is a really good power line that's going to at least force counters from basically every level 2 board out there, even like the slime ones. So there are matchups where looping this into level 2 is still like even super reasonable. And at level 1, just being 7,500 is still a pretty good power line. If you use Meowie to bring this out, it's going to be 95 or 15.5 against a level 2, which is fantastic. And, maybe if you do end up cutting the level 3 Chainsaw Man package, using some of those 5 slots for like a second Meowie, could be worthwhile if you plan on playing at some of the decks that this power is good against. Otherwise, this is just an advantage combo on a choice, and that's good enough for us. We have 2 copies of That's an Indirect Kiss Denji. So this is a 1-0 45. When you play any climax to your climax area, you can pay 1, put the top 2 cards of your deck into Waiting Room, choose a level X or lower character, return it to hand. X is equal to the total level of the cards put into your Waiting Room by this effect. So if we draw the wrong climax at some point, or if we're at level 2 and playing, our Makima climax or something and just need extra hand, this can be a way to get that. It can help us pay out climaxes that we trigger really early, that we can almost get down to, but not quite. So just good card advantage there. Second effect is when your other Devil Hunter or Devil character is frontal attacked, we can pay 1, sack this, to return that character to hand. This is really good with the power level 1 combo, since it's going to let us loop it across multiple turns. And that's really the main thing it's here for. There are some matchups where you can use this at level 3 to prevent finishers. If you can sit one of these in your back row against, say, Avatar: The Last Airbender, when they go for their Azula finisher combo, which has to reverse, using Denji to bounce your character back to your hand and dodge their reverse effect can stop them from resolving a lot of their sort of finisher power. So this can still come up there. Otherwise, it's mainly here for looping our level 1 combo, just to prevent it from getting reversed in any matchups where that would happen. It's also pretty nice because, again, all these choice triggers are probably giving us a little bit of extra stock to work with that we can use into this guy. Next, we have the 1/1 assist after a fierce battle Aki Hayakawa. So continuous, if a climax with choice trigger icon is in in your climax area, your other living like in a dream Denji all get a choice icon in any zone. So important thing is in the trigger zone, right? So whenever you trigger these Denjis, you can use them like a choice, get extra stock or get extra hand. It's an assist 500 times level to all your Devil Hunter or Devil characters in front of it. That is also an effect that will be important since we do have, a few level 3s we can bring out at level 2. Giving them extra power to just stick around is pretty solid. And lastly, whenever you play any climax with choice trigger icon, you can give a character plus 1000 power and the twin drive effect. So on attack, pay 1 to trigger check 2 times. So even more ways to keep triggering all these choice triggers, including the Denjis. Which is really, again, how we just plan on building a lot of stock, a lot of resources to use most of our effects here. Moving to level 2s, we have 1 copy of a new objective, Denji. This is a 2/16K. On play from hand, you can pay 1, discard 1. Your opponent chooses 1 climax in their waiting room, returns all cards except for that card to their deck, and shuffles. So this lets us basically just decompress our opponent. Especially if they have a lot of cards in a waiting room without many climaxes. This can just shuffle a lot of clean damage back into their deck, which helps us out a lot. And the second effect, act, you can sack this card to bounce one of your opponent's characters to hand. So not only can you decompress them, you can also open up direct attack lanes where they're not going to be able to counter to do anything sort of defensive against you. One of the good ways to just sort of try to get extra damage in against a compressed deck if you don't think your finishers will get there on their own. It's also good at level 2. Part of the sort of theme of this deck already at level 2 is breaking your opponent's board, keeping them off of like good, strong setups. And this can help with that as well, just by being a card that bounces, even if you don't decompress them. Next, we have 1 copy of Heart's Secret Denji. So this is the 2/1 on play, draw 1, discard 1. And then act ability, you can choose 1 Devil Hunting Devil's Chainsaw Man, which is the 3/2 from your waiting room. Put it on the stage position that your Chainsaw Devil Pochita is in, and then put the Pochita underneath that Chainsaw Man 3/2 as a marker. And then that just sends the 2/1 to waiting room. But this is a decent thing that you can bring out at level 2 when you don't really need the Makima as much. Or you can just bring this out at level 3 as an extra sort of finisher effect, since the 3/2 is on play, check top 3, add 1, and on reverse, pay 1, discard 1. You icy tail your opponent for 4. We'll take a closer look at it in a moment, but it gives us just a little extra finishing power, a little extra dig for our event, and more board presence. Just another way to sort of keep pressuring your opponent throughout the mid game. We play 1 copy of Battle with a Devil Chainsaw Man. This is a 2/1 3K backup that whenever you use the backup, you give your character in battle. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, you may, or mandatory, put that character into your opponent's memory. Again, since we have all these early plays, this is a way to protect them. And Memory Kick is pretty decent right now. I don't think there's anything that it really just entirely shuts off, but it is good against decks like, again, Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they're going to want to be attacking with their Sokkas and then sacking them to effect mid-attack phase. You can use that to send them to memory so they don't get to use their effects, things like that. Just kind of good all around. Removing some of your opponent's threatening characters permanently is solid. The other backup we're playing is Last Cigarette Aki Hayakawa. This one's only a 2500 backup, but when you use the backup effect, you can pay 2 to shuffle your waiting room back into your deck, which lets you A, dodge refresh point, and B, if you get in a situation where you run out of climaxes early on a deck state, can save you a lot of clean damage by just sending them back to your deck. And since we have choice triggers, both of those counters are hopefully pretty accessible most of the time. Moving into our level 3s, first up the ones that we can actually play at level 2. So the Makima that we mentioned, if first taste Makima is in your clock, this gets -1 level in hand. So we can early play this out. Second effect is a climax combo. When this card is placed on stage from hand, you may choose one hidden strength in your waiting room and return it to your hand or put it into your stock. The third effect also combos with the same climax. On attack, if hidden strength is in your climax area, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is an event or a Devil Hunter or Devil character, choose up to one of your opponent's characters, put it into their waiting room, and this card gets plus 2000 power until end of turn. So this card is honestly kind of like one of the main strategies of the deck, one of the main reasons to play this deck. First off, with the second ability, you can actually get most of these Makimas out for only 1 stock, since you can play the first Makima, put the hidden strength into your stock, play the second one, which pays it back out, and then if you need to play a third one, you can put it back into your stock again. Or if it's the last Makima you're playing, you can add it to your hand at that point to be able to play it for your on-attack climax combo. So it's really easy to help set itself up for either less hand or less stock resources. And then the on-attack combo, obviously we're popping our opponent's board. This doesn't have to target center stage. You can hit backstage with this. So even in decks that don't really care about board presence that much, you can still pop their brainstorms, pop their assists. Standby decks, you can pop things that they standby out before they get to push them up. Just really good at sort of disrupting your opponent's board state. And gaining extra power means that against decks like Slime, you can play 2 of these, pop their Shuna, then pop their Brainstorm, and then swing over all of their Murons in the front. And really set them back, make them sort of work to get any kind of presence back. This is also great with the Makima, the first taste Makima that is your clock condition, since obviously we have to hit the top check, but the alarm effect on Makima lets us look at top 2, put them back in any order. If we play 2 3/2s, give that effect to the first one we're attacking with, we can swing. As long as either card is a valid hit, we can put that on top, reveal it, and then trigger it, and then attack with our third character next to trigger the miss. Or if they're both hits, then we know we can swing with the first one, pop something, and then swing with the second one, pop something else. It just really helps us consistently hit all these top checks to blow up our opponent's board. So yep, moving into our other early play. So this one, again, you can play this as an early play. You can just play this at level 3. Kind of either or, whichever you need, depending on the matchup. 3/2 10k, on play from hand, or by the act effect of Heart's Secret Denji. Look at up to 3 cards from top of your deck. Choose one, put it in your hand, put the rest into your waiting room. This can help us find our finisher climax. This can help us find our Makima 3/2 climax if we need it. Or it can help us find the event card, which is really what we have the most trouble finding in this deck, I think, to just sort of set those up. And it cantrips anyway. You're trading 2 cards, the Pochita and the Denji, to get this guy out anyway, so getting a 1 card back feels pretty good. And, of course, his other effect, on reverse, when he reverses battle opponent, you can pay 1, discard 1, put the bottom 4 cards of your opponent's deck into their waiting room, deal X to your opponent. X is the number of climax among those cards. Just a pretty simple extra finisher effect to go alongside your other cards. And our actual finisher, the Devil Hunter feared by Devil's Chainsaw Man. We're playing 4 copies of this. Part of that is just in case we have to level 1 for yellow. The other part is just because he heals. You're probably not ever resolving multiple full combos off of this guy. It's more likely that you're just playing them to heal and getting a little bit of value off of them. He's a 329k. If you have 3 or more other characters, gains 2k, so 11, as long as you have some kind of board presence. On play from hand, you heal, so good just to GM anyway at level 3 and try to stay as low level 3 as possible. And his last effect, his climax combo. When this card attacks, if Blood-Soaked Declaration of War is in your climax area and you have 3 or more other characters, deal 1 damage to your opponent, and this card gets the following ability until the end of your opponent's next turn. When this card's battle opponent becomes reversed, pay 2, discard 2, deal 2 damage to your opponent, and put that character on the top of your opponent's deck. So, playing these out, it's very likely the first turn you play these out, your opponent might just have no board for you to reverse. Especially since you probably blew it up with Makima, and it's pretty easy to just like play 0s or 1s or whatever and crash into the Makimas that are on board, just to kind of generate resources for level 3. So you might not have reverse targets in most of your lanes. You might have like 1, which is still fine. If you get 1 reverse target, you can still, you know, top deck, deal 2, top deck kick it, and then whenever you swing with your next character for like 3, you have slightly better chance of sticking it. Otherwise, they're just sort of dealing 1 on attack and healing, which is still fine. Because you do also get the effect cross turn to deal 2 and top deck kick. So if you are sitting on, you know, this guy's an 11k, your level assist can make him a 12-5, and then you have a counter. You could get this guy up to like, what, 15k, 15-5, and then resolve the burn 2 effect on defense, which, you know, if you get your opponent to high damage, maybe that's enough to win the game. Otherwise, maybe it's just enough to make it easier on your next turn to finish them. So something to keep in mind there. It can also, top deck kicking can have sort of the same valuable effect against decks like Avatar, where top deck kicking their Sokka could prevent them from sacking it to Azula and starting their combo chain. Anything like that. It also would stop them from having end of attack effects for decks like Nino quintuplets. Last card we have here is First Indirect Kiss. So this is the 2/2 event. We're only playing 2 copies of it. I do wish we could play 3. Maybe that's something else you consider if you cut down some of the other cards in the deck. It just sends itself to memory, doesn't do anything else. Once it's in memory at the beginning of your opponent's attack phase on any turn, you can choose to turn it from face up to face down. If you do, give one of your opponent's characters -3 soul until end of turn. So this is just a defensive option that's really impossible to interact with. No decks can really justify playing cards that interact with memory in a way that would stop this. So once you put this in your memory, it's kind of just 3 soul on whatever turn you need it the most. Which, you know, could be maybe you're in a bad deck state at level 2 because you triggered some climaxes and you just want to blank a big lane. Or maybe your opponent's finisher turn, you know, they play a restander or something, or have a 3 soul attacker and you just want to, you know, blank that lane there so you don't die. Pretty good, just all around way to stop damage. Not having to be a counter. I mean, like, even if your opponent just bounces your whole board, you can still resolve this, unlike a counter. So really sets it in a world of its own in terms of like these defensive options. Our climaxes, we have 4 copies of Fiend's Everyday Life, which is our level 1 power combo. We have 2 copies of Hidden Strength, which is our level 3 Makima combo. And, of course, the 2 copies of Blood-Soaked Declaration of War, which is our level 3 Chainsaw Man combo. And since we are running a 3 climax split, I do think that makes, you know, the check top 3 Brainstorm, the climax swaps, and the Chainsaw Man 3-2 being able to check top 3. It makes all those things a little more important. You do have to sort of balance your resources, your knowledge of where your climaxes are, things like that a little more to sort of get the most out of this deck. It's definitely probably one of the harder Chainsaw Man decks to play. I think the others sort of give you a strategy and let you roll with it. Don't have as much, don't have as many moving parts that you have to worry about. Even the Akihimeno deck, where you have to get the events in memory, you have ways to just search them outright, and then they give you more cards back. So, like, moving parts, sure, but very consistent. This deck is a little iffier, probably a lot harder to play, but clearly it has proven its worth getting second at the Japanese format Worlds. Some pros of the deck. We do have a lot of resource generation with, you know, all 8 of our climaxes are plussing climaxes, and we have the 4 copies of Denji that are probably quite often going to be choice triggers. And we just have, other plussing zeros, good level 1 combo, a good 1-0 that, pay 1 plus when you play a climax, and it can plus by bouncing one of your characters that's going to die back to hand. So lots of resources all around. We have efficient board control. The Makima early play setup is probably one of the best ways of controlling an opponent's board right now, just being able to indiscriminately blow up whatever you want. And we have a good, cool, unique, uninteractive defensive tool that not really any other deck is going to have either access to or a way to stop. So we have some good pros here that are things other decks aren't really going to be able to do as well. Unfortunately, we all do also have some cons. It can be difficult to loop the level 1 combo, since our only ways to really get it back or save it are the Meowie or the 1-0 Denji. And getting the climax back could be a little difficult since we're not playing like gates or treasures like the other decks are. Even to climax swap, we have to find a second climax in the first place. So, can be some difficulty there, but you don't always need to loop it since you're going into a level 2 combo. You can have some hand sculpting issues though. Since power is check top 4, add 1, you don't get a ton of selectivity. Whereas you do want, multiple copies of the 3-2 Makima. You want the 0-0 Makima so that you can clock it to play your 3-2s. A lot of stuff going on there that you need specific cards for. Check top 4 might not always get you there. So you might have to rely a little more on the Kobeni 0, the Brainstorms, things like that. Just kind of mashing a lot of card advantage to be able to get the specific cards you want. It gets easier if you can trigger climaxes, since those do get to add pretty much any of the pieces you need back to your hand, though. And we do have the somewhat anti-synergistic top end, as I mentioned, Makima clearing out your opponent's board, preventing Denji from getting reverses, but we can make up for that, as I said, with the defensive options. Chainsaw Man heals, and we can give minus soul, so hopefully even if we're not pushing a super threatening finisher, we can at least stall out for an extra turn. That might be easier in the Japanese meta where this saw success than it is in the current English environment, where you still have to put up with full power Gura, full power Ainz, all those things. So your mileage may vary. But looking at the full list again, as I said, if you want to sort of streamline this down a little bit, not play as many various packages, you can cut the 3-2 Chainsaw Man with the 2-1 Denji and Pochita 0. You can replace at least the Chainsaw Man. There's a red 3-2 common power that's on play. Discard 3, search 4, put 3 in hand, 1 in stock. That can help you pretty much set up an entire Chainsaw Man finisher turn, even from nothing. And then you can just put the rest of the slots into, more Meowie, clean cuts, whatever other plussing zeros you want, just to get some more card advantage going on, a little more consistency. Maybe a third climax swap even, or just another way to dig for climaxes. I believe they do have like a pay 1, discard 1, check 4, add any card. So lots of options there. Definitely mess around with it. Find what you like the best. And you can check out the deck log code again if you just want to look at it, or if you want to use the copy and edit function on there to sort of mess around with it yourself. GJKV to do that. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate the support. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what changes you would make. Let me know what decks you want to see next. I'm going to try to keep balancing these between some Weiss Schwarz and Shadowverse. And until I get the next one out, there should be some videos on the screen for you to watch right now. So I'll see you next time.